God, what about this place? Because for me and my family, that was the Farmers Exchange, right? You were just selling your story. Well, that building built back in originally 1904 is what gave the ability for a family like mine in Northeast Ohio to be able to buy and transfer and transport farm goods to a place to get your supplies that you needed and your feed and sell what you had. So it was an exchange.
Right.
So it was positioned there in conjunction with the railway to connect farming across the country.
Welcome to the night zone, hear the warriors speak. Life's the battlefield and we ain't feeling weak. From love to the game and the power we seek. Our voice is strong, breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Politics and prayers, ain't no subject we shun. Keep it real, keep it raw till the battle's won. Fitness tips to faith, every topic under the sun. With honor and valor, every man's battle begun. Warriors with word swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night Podcast. Tonight, we are fortunate enough to have a local business entrepreneur and sponsorship of some pretty incredible stuff that she's got going on online as far as coaching and 75 Days to Holy. And now stepping up in the community is Kayleigh Keller. So welcome aboard.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hello, viewers.
Absolutely. We're so excited. And obviously, we've talked a lot recently with Charlie and what he's meant to the community. And we had the idea when we were at the vigil, was that Sunday a week ago. And we're like, hey, we should have Kayleigh on. She's a big part in the community. And I think right now we're at a point in time where there's not going to be another Charlie Kirk. I mean, let's be honest, when you look back to some of the people that have been idolized as speakers and big part people in the community, we go decades almost before somebody replaces them as far as the next big thing that actually has some weight to it.
Sure.
But I think that there's people inside the community that can start to pick up where he left off and grow small communities of these pockets of people that are, looking to do great things and stuff like that and help really just hopefully help heal our country.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But he started as an 18-year-old with one flame.
Yeah.
So it's just starting there and recognizing that you do have a flame and it's an eternal flame put there by an eternal God, and to just start moving, and the wind of that will increase the flame.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that any time that somebody's got a great message, people are willing to listen, and then that grows and grows and grows, and it's amazing what he had done. And I didn't know today as his funeral, and it's incredible to think that you have all these people speaking on your behalf, at your funeral. Yeah. And obviously you're gone physically, but your family's getting to see like what an impact you've had on the country and in the world.
In
really.
The world,
yeah.
Right.
And it's pretty impressive. But for those that don't know about you, and obviously we've got David and Evan here tonight too. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Oh, hey.
Evan, are you well researched?
I am not researched at all because I don't like looking up people in communities. I think it's a little creepy for me.
Wow. I was hoping you were going to really dig into the farm to table aspect of things.
I don't like looking into people. I think it's a little creepy. I think it's like just not my thing. And like, unless you like a real provident and what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. Spell it backwards.
Talking to a dyslexic kid here. But no, I just don't like it unless I really know you about you before. It's not my thing. I don't like the researching people. I like to learning about them in the moment.
Hi, I'm Kayleigh Keller.
Nice to meet you, Evan. Yeah, I like doing that.
Good handshake.
That's how I am.
Perfect. All right.
Eye contact goes a long way, and we have lost that as a society.
Oh, yeah.
100%. That's what I teach my employees. Like, I will make them stare at me wide-eyed so that they can learn eye contact, because you're not trustworthy without it.
Well, it's not only that, but it encourages conversation when you're like looking at people,
Sure.
and it's much healthier. We talk about all the time. Like, you have these kids that are like 6'2" now, and they walk around with like hunches at 16 because they've been looking down their whole lives.
Yeah.
And you're right. Especially when it comes to employees, like the 10-foot rule. David just talked about this when he was inside of what's it called, Myers.
Yeah,
He's like, man, I walked around in there for like an hour and nobody said hi to me. Nobody even like looked at me, and it was 10 o'clock at night. So he's like, it's not like I was fighting like through lines of customers.
Sure.
You know
like,
what I
see
mean?
me.
Yeah, right.
You're not a small dude.
Oh, I did. I made a fun video out of it. I actually talk about harassing and stalking people. Like, I actually chased the employees around the store in a way, you could say. But in all fairness, I went and did it at Walmart as well, and I had a little bit better results around the same time.
This
of
is a
night,
social
too.
experiment.
Yeah, it's for
I like
it's another channel that we have that we do kind of travel and shenanigans on, and
Shenanigans.
right.
Shenanigans.
Well, we have a new Meyer moved into our town here, and
Because you needed one more place to shop.
I know. Gosh, people love spending money, I swear.
so that was sort of the experiment, was just taking a look at, okay, so in that intersection of Reagan and North Court, there's 7 options for shopping, all right in that area there. Now, 200,000 vehicles pass that intersection every single day. So it's busy, and we have a lot of townships and surrounding and everything. But so that was the premise, was just seeing, okay, do we actually need another discount store that you can literally stand in the parking lot and you can see the Target, you can see the Walmart, you can see it's in the same parking lot as the Marks, and then you can see the Giant Eagle, you can see the Bueller's. Aldi is right across the street as well. So that's not even counting the $6 Generals that we have in the Medina area either. So that was kind of what it was. So yeah, looking at that, but I wasn't there to pick on the employees. I was actually there doing a comparison shopping. I'm a single guy. I kind of cook and eat the same things week in and week out. So I took my list and went and shopped. But I did notice, because I'm a people person, I like to talk to people, never greeted when I walked in. Now, after, in hindsight, we published the video, we had the manager of the meat department reach out and say, "You're a liar." I said hi to you. And I went back and I looked at my footage, but he was wearing a jacket. He didn't look like an employee. And he just said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I said, "I'm doing fine. Thank you." Like 4 other customers in the store said hello to me.
Yeah.
No employee in there other than him, who didn't look like an employee at the time, even said hi. But so after I realized, walking past, the 6-1, I was like, hold on a second here. Like, now I'm gonna turn this into a game. So yeah, the new one that I just did with Walmart's even better, because there were ladies that were folding like shirts on the tables and wouldn't greet me. So I walked over and started shopping through the shirts and like unfolding the shirts and stuff. Like, I left the camera over there going, yeah, I'm that guy.
I like it.
But yeah, to that point, whether it's your job or not, I think the young people today, like, they spend a lot of time, they're doing this, they're, focused downward here, or, maybe they're quote unquote on the spectrum somewhere, avoidant, like that type of thing. I think that's super common right now. I see that in a lot of young people that just kind of talk and they're looking away from you and they don't want to, confront.
Yeah. Maybe you're not on the spectrum. Maybe you just don't have the brain pathway built to have human conversations, because you've put a screen in front of their face since they were born.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a brain grid that's not built. Maybe.
Could be.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things that you do have to learn, right?
Yeah.
Conversation. It's funny.
Every skill.
So I just recently started teaching girls lacrosse for 4th and 5th graders for my niece's team and helping them out. And it is so hard for them to say the other person's name when they're passing, because they don't know it, because they don't talk to each other. I feel like, and it's like,
It's interesting.
guys, like, how do you guys not know each other's names? This is like week 3. Like, I mean, I don't even know everybody's name, but I'm learning. Like, you guys have played together for like 3 years, and it's just funny. And it's like so hard for them to like talk to each other. And yeah. But that's something we used to preach at the dealership too, is like, dude, anytime a customer walks by, just say hello. How you doing? It's very simple, and it goes a long way.
It's your house. You invite in. Yeah, like when you're the employee there, you're a representation of the house.
Yeah.
So you say, welcome in.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
understand how this has become so, I'm intimidated or shy like that. When has just being friendly become so hard? I don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, I mean, that's the thing too. Obviously, we're all here capable of like talking, right?
Yeah.
That's what we like to do. But to me, it's like a shock when it's like, why don't you want to just be polite and say hi? And I thought for a second that was starting to change last week. It's funny. I actually called it the Charlie Kirk effect. Like we're, like kind of like after September 11th, like everybody just seemed like a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
And like they just, like I opened the door, and usually you open the door and like 3 out of 10 people won't say even thank you. They just walk through the door, and it always makes me like, my first reaction is to obviously close the door really hard to let them know like I opened
Put your
it.
fingers in there. That's kidding. I love your fingers.
But so I was like, all right, don't do that. But like last week I was like, man, everybody's saying thank you and everybody's saying hello. And then obviously everything on the square, everybody's talking and communicating. I was like, man, hopefully this lasts a little bit. But yeah, we're getting off on a tangent. Let's get on to Kayleigh Keller. So you grew up on Keller Farm. What was that like?
Dirty and wonderful. And it was learning how to steward what's been put in front of you, steward the blessings, and learning how to see your chores as blessings. So it's not like this was common language to say growing up that God gave us those cattle and God has given us the ability to farm like this. But I can see all of that now, especially like after a radical encounter with Jesus Christ and hearing his voice. Like I can never go back from that. And I can see now because he'll like bring you back through all the seasons and years of your life and show you where he's been always. So I can see now it was the responsibility of raising livestock. And the way my dad would say it too is if you have livestock, you have dead stock. And but our mission and our goal and our responsibility is to keep the livestock alive and putting them above ourselves. So like if our kitchen table was set in the back of the house. So my mom had built I say my mom because my mom did all the things, built an addition off the back of the house. And my dad just came home one day, I swear, and was just like, oh, we have an addition. Okay. Clearly he saw the work being done, but off of the kitchen so that she could have a bigger kitchen table because the Keller philosophy is there's always an extra seat. And that kitchen table, the windows were right there so we could be and hear the barn. But if we sat down to eat and the cattle were bellowing, that means they were waiting for food and they were at the mercy of us making sure that they had something to eat. So it would be up from the table, you don't get to eat because they rely on you to eat. Mm-hmm. And it just taught such an ingraining in love and responsibility because when something is alive and it's got a heartbeat, I don't know how you can't help but love it.
Right.
Yeah, and my family and I, like, we love what we do, or it'd be really hard to maintain 80 and 100-hour weeks.
Sure.
It'd be really hard to maintain that and have the desire to do that through planting or harvesting seasons or peak seasons like Christmas time in the meat industries, like Super Bowl season for us.
Really?
Yeah, and you just can't do that without the power of loving what you do.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, being a kid growing up on a farm is a lot different than, most kids. Like, I went to Cloverleaf, so we had tractor day, right? Or
Yeah.
we had Carhartt day.
Yeah.
And, like, half the student body showed up in, like, brand new clean Carhartts that they just got. But
That they just
obviously,
got,
working on a farm, your Carhartts were probably filled with dung and everything else. That could
Absolutely.
imaginable. But so growing up, did your parents kind of put you into the barn at an early age? Like, hey, you have responsibilities and chores at a pretty early age, or did they kind of let you grow into that? How was that?
No,
what was
it
that like?
was on the hip alongside. So when my sister and I were little, before my brother was born, we actually lived on Orchard Lane. But my dad would have the livestock trailer and bring livestock home, like in the trailer. So they'd be in there overnight because he had to bring them somewhere the next morning. So I was 3 years old when we bought. My parents bought the Grafton Road farm that we used to have. So from 3 years on up, it was growing up in the barn, and I found the love of farming out there and the love of why I love farming too. And it was all growing and cultivating through this because I love the food industry because everybody eats. And so since I love people so much, it's just an easy way to gather everybody. Like you can really swoo a lot of people when you say there's free food.
Yeah.
And growing up on a farm, yeah, the Carhartts were always dirty. You just hung them up somewhere. Like you didn't wash those things. Like you would destroy too many washing machines washing those things as much. And the freedom that was already always out there. And I don't know if my mom learned how to whistle as a kid or raising kids on a farm, because my mom is from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
And so she would sing the song and says this is her like life theme song, is Green Acres is her life theme song. And meeting my dad opened up her mind to the possibilities of what being barefoot looks like and running around like that and raising, these 3 wild children out here as well that come in, covered in cow manure, every day, and it's woven throughout your hair, and there's not a care in the world about that. So it's being able to just saddle up on a 4-wheeler, and my brother and I, like, calves got out, we'd go grab a halter and try to lasso that thing, in the back 40. It'd be getting lost in the woods and being able to generate that creative brain. It was always tricking my brother into eating dog food, and even one time almost manure. But then I felt too bad, and I actually took it back. He would have fallen for it, and I would have probably not regretted it. But there was something that came over me that day that said, "Don't do it. That's cow poop."
Cow pies. Come on.
Yeah.
So interesting. Like you bring that up in the sense, is your parents then considered first generation farmers?
Nope. So. They would be 4th generation.
Okay, so the Keller farm was before that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure because you made it sound like you guys had transferred farms, so I wasn't sure if it was something he grew.
So we had the Lester Road farm, which is where my parents live now.
Okay.
And my brother and his wife, Alyssa, live right now. And we have all the livestock there primarily. And most of our crop ground is all right there. But then we also have some other pockets throughout the county. Yes. So we would have grown up on Grafton Road while also having the Lester Road farm, which was the original where my dad was raised.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. And it was just always his desire to own that farm and be like planted with a home right there. So the very first house that before they were looking at buying the Grafton Road farm, they actually had staked out some land in a bean field to build a house. And then the Grafton Road farm popped up. Mom and dad bought that instead. And 30 whatever years later, they built a house right back where they originally had staked out. Yeah. In the bean field.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
So now when you guys originally started, or, obviously your father's generations, how did he come to meeting your mom, I guess, first? Because you said she's from the Bronx.
So, right? Yeah. So she's from Brooklyn. Yeah. So mom moved here. Their family transplanted from New York to Pennsylvania to Medina, Ohio. And my mom was a cashier at Kmart. So you're talking about the Meyer.
Oh my gosh.
So my dad met my mom at Kmart, and he would say, I met her as a blue light special, no receipts, no returns. So the truth also is like him and his cousin would come in, and then just these big 6'3" brawny farmers would come in, and Kmart had that little restaurant inside of it too. And my mom would wait inside of there as well. And so she would serve them a pot roast dinner. And dad's cousin Carl was dating one of mom's friends, Peggy, and mom and Peggy worked together at Kmart. And so that's how the relationship got first introduced. But then one day mom was doing donuts in the parking lot, and dad was like standing on a sidewalk, and she just like, movie slid, like this car like slides up is the way I recall the story.
Like
in the
a
window.
glove.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she rolls the window down and just says, "So do we have a date or what, Keller?" Yeah. So to this day, she calls him Keller. She hardly ever calls him Tom.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Listen to all these like old fashioned names too, like Peggy and Carl. I feel like those are names that don't necessarily exist anymore. But that's a pretty awesome story of how I met your mother.
Yes.
Yeah. She was doing donuts in the parking lot, slid up to me movie style.
I like
wind blowing in the air.
I like the fact that she assimilated to life in Ohio pretty quickly from coming from Brooklyn to here. Like,
probably excited. She's like, look at all this space to drive crazy over there. You just run into cars.
Right.
So now let's talk about the farm in general. Have you guys always had Keller Meats? Has that always been a thing, or was that something that you graduated into?
So my grandpa was a meat processor, but he always worked for somebody else. And so my dad then and my uncle Tim, who's his brother, my dad's brother, they started in meat processing as well. Young, my dad got a scholarship to play football at Akron, and he was doing criminal justice out there. And then just decided, like, man, I only came here because they gave me money for football. I just want to be a farmer. So he quits college, ends up playing for the Cuyahoga semi-pro team, which was called the Meat Packers at that time anyway. So I'm like, yeah, right.
I'm not sure if that's a great name for a football team.
Moving away.
What happens in the locker room stays in the locker room, guys.
Yes, especially on guys' night here.
Right.
So he starts working for a place downtown Cleveland, and my grandpa and my Uncle Tim were also working for a place in Chippewa. So if you know, they do like that creepy haunted house thing too. So my grandpa had worked there.
Oh, really?
Yes, and my Uncle Tim.
And that's a meat processing place as well, right?
It was.
It used to be back in the day.
Yeah, way back. Yes, way before
Now it's
our
a
time.
Halloween attraction.
Right.
Yeah. So then my dad was working for a place called Keeney Brothers, and it was on Marks Road at the junction of like Valley City and Brunswick Hills there.
Okay.
And it's no longer there. It's demoed down and out of sight, out of mind. But he came to work one day and they had shut their doors. And that was the first time my dad has ever lost a job and been without a job. So we've got a grown man whose like sole purpose in life is just to make sure that he's got money in the bank to feed his family. Like that's my dad's number one. And he's got a wife and 3 kids and comes to work and there's the doors are locked. No idea that was going to happen. So he takes up and finds.
Let me just stop for just a minute. So at this point, even though you guys have got the farm, he's probably doing work on the farm as well still, right? Because
yes.
I mean, when you're a farmer, you just still farm. But revenue's not always enough to support a family of 3.
Yeah,
so
nope.
he had a side job as far as working in these different processing plants.
Yes.
Shows up. Okay, so this is before you guys. So at that point, you guys were just doing, I'm assuming, like fields and stuff like that for the most part.
So we would have been cattle primarily.
So
cow
just
calf.
selling cattle though.
Yeah, raising them, selling them.
Okay.
Yep. And my dad would be being paid for hauling a lot too. So kind of a term for the cattle jockey, but a livestock hauler. Which he still does and loves. Yeah.
All right. So then this happens where he loses his job, and now then you can continue there. Sorry,
sure. Yeah. So we've always been, and this is just financial advice for everybody, multiple streams of revenue. Like preach, get that message of anything you leave home for today.
Yeah.
Because when something gets taken from you, it buys you just some time. Yep. So then he takes and he finds a guy named Bob Whitehead who had a transformed garage at the end of Brooker Street out in Litchfield. So there was the Litchfield Elementary School right off of 83, and it dead ends into a guy's house with a detached garage. And Bob was just doing like maybe 2 head a week, I think at that time, 2 head of cattle and maybe a couple of hogs in a tiny little thumbprint size footprint. My dad shows up there and says like, hey, I need work. Well, with that came all these customers that just followed my dad. So this wasn't any intention of my dad or anything. It's just because he's always been a hard worker and extremely trustworthy. So he brings all of that business with him to Bob Whitehead's place. And quickly, Bob needs to increase the footprint size of the garage. And overnight, Bob's business like 5-folds.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that would have been in the early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. And my dad worked for another couple of places, but Bob is where he landed. And it was called Whitehead Meats at the time. That was Bob's last name.
No affiliated with, was it Whitehead Meats that is where the butcher started from as well?
Oh, that's White Feather.
Oh,
That's
that
the
is White
Perkins
Feather. That's
family.
Right.
Yes.
You're right.
Yes.
Okay. So no affiliation then,
Yeah, no
obviously.
affiliation.
Right. Okay. So
besides we all love meat.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So then he really, brings all this business to this guy, and he's like, we're going to need to expand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we, and just in a hodgepodge way, like it's still the same garage. And okay, we're just going to mediocre put this cooler on and slap this extra place on. But it was just a transformed garage, which you just look at the history of things that have spurred and started. Charlie Kirk, okay, this is relevant right now. The guy started in a garage. so many big movements start in the garage of something. And it's just, I can't unsee the creative freedom that a garage just houses. I think it's just awesome because it's also my parents' upbringing too, and their start. So Bob starts kind of talking about wanting to retire and not be in the position he is anymore in meat processing, this and that. And my mom, who is definitely my dad's backbone, is like, Tom, like, Keller, you need to own this. We need to do our own thing. Like, we can do this. We can take this over from Bob. We can buy this. And my dad is not a risk taker. It needs to be like really calculated. And he is, if you can't pay for it all in cash, like, you don't get it kind of guy. And my mom's like, we're all in. Like, yeah, like even all 3 kids. Yeah, because she just believes so much in my dad and his hard work and his ethics. And she knows how people talk about him. She knows the reputation that he carried. And I believe, like, and that's even biblical too. You look at what scripture says about a man who marries the right wife, like she can take his penny and turn it into a dime. And that's exactly the story of my parents. So when my dad approaches Bob, and like this gets me every time about, hey Bob, I want to buy Whitehead Meats from you. Bob looks at him and he says, I can't sell you this. No, Tom, I can't. And my dad, I imagine the look on his face and the heart sink, and he goes, I can't sell you what you built. So I'll rent you this place, but I will not sell you this business. So what a solid, just honest move.
Yeah.
Like he just gave the key over to my dad. He's like,
and you just rent the building.
Yeah.
That's
all I need is your rent. No contract, no nothing.
That's awesome.
Just 2 honest men with an honest handshake that meant something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible from so many different angles. Like one, the obviously like no contracts, no lawyers, none of that. Just 2 grown men coming to a decision and trusting that each other's going to hold up their end of the bargain.
Right.
But 2, today that doesn't happen as much because I feel like people don't want to see the success of somebody else.
Sure.
Whereas, this gentleman's about to retire. He's probably excited the fact that he's going to give this young guy a chance to like build something.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if he's still alive today.
Yeah.
But he probably looks at it, he's like, man, look what Keller's become. And I got to play a part in that. Like, and I feel like that's missing from today's world in some sense. So that's a pretty awesome story. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yes. And, from there, the deer processing picks up and more cattle and more hogs. Then we start smoking meats. And that's how we became like introducing the smokehouses as well. It's just another, what we would call now as a revenue center. And
when you say the smokehouses, what did you guys do with smokehouses? Like you guys would smoke people's stuff for them or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a huge part of our business now. Yeah. So actually just added onto that footprint at the processing facility just this year.
So what is that? I don't know much about meat processing. I don't know if you're an expert in this aspect, but obviously when I think of it initially, it's like breaking down a cow or whatever animal that they're bringing in and bringing it into sections, whether it's steaks or briskets or ground beef and all these other different things. Mm-hmm. When you say the smokehouse part of it though, what does that entail?
So that's where you're going to make your jerkies, your smokies, your smoked pork chops. So there's dry aging and there's smoking, 2 different things. That's where your bacon and smoked hams come from as well. So bacon is just a fresh belly until it gets itself into the brine and into the smokehouse.
Okay.
Then it becomes bacon.
I love bacon.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of were dibbling in that a little bit, but now that's like a big source of revenue for you guys.
Yep, absolutely. Like it's its own beast.
So he takes his business, he starts doing, he's still just processing at this point. Are you guys processing your own cattle at that point in time?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. We're doing our own in there too.
Okay.
Yes. But we've never been more of our own. We've always had a bigger customer base that's outside of our own farm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that still the case today?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Even as the farm grows, our customer and custom processing for other places grows more. And honestly, that's the way we love to do it. So because of the way and how we operate, my dad does a lot of on-farm picking up the livestock. And the way he says it too, and we say it, is we get to see those animals with their pajamas off. So we get to see what they look like as the live animal. And that matters just as much and it has its place. But then we also get to see, okay, well, how does that translate into carcass quality? And then how does that animal break down? Because at the end of the day, if nobody wants to eat it, what's it matter that it looked pretty? It doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. that end result matters is if somebody cut into that steak and goes, I want another.
Yeah.
That's how, yeah.
So from the processing side of things, obviously you guys are a very hands-on processing plant, right?
Right.
Comparing that to the processing plant that are just running through hundreds and thousands of cattle a day, what is the difference in that process versus, the industry side
That's
of
a
things?
fantastic question. That's exactly what I was going to ask too.
Yeah, so the big difference is we've got more legit manpower. And now I'm all about adopting in technology and making things more efficient and safer for our employees and the product to get out to the customer. But I never want it to be at the expense of the quality of the cut. So somebody's put their blood, sweat, and tears into raising their livestock. And we know that that's how it goes because that's how we raise our livestock: blood, sweat, and a lot of tears. And we believe that it just does a disservice and almost a dishonor to all that hard work, because we want to maintain close customer relationships. We want to maintain, even as we continue to grow, that's a constant conversation and teeter-totters, like, okay, as we grow, how do we not lose any of the value that we stand by and what we love? So it's making sure that we're hiring not just people, but the right hearts as well. So that is one of the growing pains that we experience as well. But that big difference is that, like, you can have those custom cuts. We're not just saying this is what you get because this is the way we do it and we don't wane from that. No, it's like you can say, no, I want a picanha cut out of your beef because you just came back from Brazil and you're like, that was the best thing I've had since sliced bread. So, we can manipulate that animal because it's the same carcass across the world, right? But every ethnicity has different unique cuts depending on what their heritage. And this is why I've learned why I love to travel so much, is just learning what those different food aspects are and then bringing those back. And then we would start growing in different ethnic customers from out of the Cleveland, Columbus, Akron area. And because of my travel, I would say, oh yeah, I know what that cut is. And this is how we can get to it.
Right.
Yeah. And just diving into it rather than just saying, never heard of it, next. Yeah.
Gotcha. So on the national scene, or on the large scale business, they're essentially doing the exact same thing every single time, just running the meat through it.
Yeah.
And at that point too, I'd imagine that because while they're the same carcass, I imagine some cows are different, or some animals in general, it doesn't matter if it's cow or pig or whatever, are different in the sense that, like, hey, you know what? This is the cut we would normally do, but based on this cow, like, we want to do a different cut. It'll provide a better quality of food at the end of the day, right? So
Yeah, sure.
you have the ability to kind of customize that based off of each one that goes through, because you have hands-on butchers that are cleaning everything, right?
Right. So, and I guess circling back to being able to see those animals live and know what their farm life is like and their husbandry practices, because at the start of grass-fed, people weren't managing that well. So these cattle were just slinky and not edible. We're like, what? No. And my dad was so anti-grass fed because of the quality of the carcass, until more education came into that, and where we're at now, and just better taking care of pasture grass and intensive grazing with more intentionality. But we would be able to say, no, we don't think that those are going to make great steaks, but that will make a great roast animal, and that will make a great smoky animal, and that will make a great ground animal and burger animal, because it's still edible and still good quality, but those higher end cuts would have suffered a bit because that grass-fed animal would have had not the same nutrients being consumed and older. So that affects tenderness. But we've been able to change the way some farms do that so that they can still have the value that they believe in raising a grass-fed animal, but they're having better carcass quality at the end of the day and a more edible meat product.
I wasn't planning on going down this rabbit hole, but grass-fed is obviously like the cultural is like shifting towards, like, this is the better way to do
It
meat.
sounds good on the package.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like the trendy. I guess you would say it's the
trendy
trendy way to eat meat right now is it grass-fed or not? So describe the differences, I guess, in the ways that you can, build your cows up or grow your cattle, grass-fed versus the other aspects of it. And
As a grass grain fed. Because let's be clear, they're both ruminant animals and they have to have a grass in their diet every single day.
Okay.
So that's the marketing kind of thing that would drive somebody like me a little bit bananas, is that every ruminant animal has to have a grass in their diet every single day, because they have to have that roughage that scratches the inside of their rumen in their stomach, which turns it on to start making it move.
Okay.
Otherwise they die.
Gotcha. So, I mean, there's always some portion of grass fed, but what's the difference in the grain aspect, I guess? Like,
Yeah. So the grain is what's going to give more marbling into that animal. And, corn, we've all ate sweet corn. So there's a sweetness to it in that sugar and what that does in the diet. So, I haven't seen enough, for me personally, that says grass fed is more healthy, because if I go back before that, there was a whole assault on triglycerides and on fat. Anyways, there was a war on fat, saying
Right.
fat's bad for you. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense when we do need fat.
right.
So I personally have not, in as much science and as much as I studied this at Ohio State, I haven't gone deeper than where I'm at right now. And I'm going to eat both if it's delicious and in front of me.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned traveling to places and seeing other ways of raising and preparing and cutting. What's the most interesting place that you went to that you learned something that you brought back that you felt was really valuable?
Gosh, every country just has something else because of what they're struggling with. Like the first thing that came to mind was when I was in Australia, they struggle with water. Well, here in Northeast Ohio, we don't have that struggle. We've had droughts, sure, but never to the point where we've wondered if we turned the hydrant on, was there going to be water?
Right.
Or be able to get water from some way, shape, or form, even if it's, if we've ever had to truck water in. Like there's been a source. And like over there, it is paying for water rights. It is losing your life over not having water. And raising a livestock animal. I mean, a dairy cow needs 75 gallons of water a day.
Wow.
Yeah, one cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking
So
about
in
a lot of
Australia, where
water.
you have like hundreds on a cattle farm or a dairy farm.
Yeah, so I went to a water buffalo milking farm, which I was like, I didn't even know you milk these things. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was there with Ohio State and I was there for 3 months and was learning a lot about their agriculture practices in multiple species. But yeah, that water buffalo milking farm blew my mind. Total docile animals too. And I'm just thinking how they ran Simba's dad over.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right. Like what the heck?
Yeah, they've scarred me since then. Yeah.
So they actually supply the water for their cattle using water buffaloes?
No,
is
just that's a livestock animal to you. Like we don't use, that's not a livestock animal in the
Right.
United States. Yeah,
Right.
we have buffalo, as a livestock animal that we've domesticated too. But like I had no idea there was domesticated water buffalo.
I've seen them at the zoo.
Yeah, definitely counts. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just in the travels that we've even done together, like the ways that different cultures and places have to find a way to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were in Iceland,
The horses.
horses are like pigs over there
Yeah.
because they can live through the wintertime and I was like, holy smokes. And then the other thing is they like to ferment their shark and their whale because it could last 6-7 months of a winter over there. And that's very well what you could see where there's nothing to eat. And I was like, man, imagine that process like 200 years ago.
Right.
Like you literally had to find a way to eat for like 7 months because you couldn't go anywhere.
Well,
You
they
didn't
do
have-
that. They do that here in Alaska, even today.
Yeah, of
they
course.
they still hunt whale and prepare them and harvest them. And
But today, that technology's changed it where I could get into a truck and I could drive 6 hours.
you
I
can
need
if you
to.
live if you're an Inuit living in the tip of Alaska, you can't. You're still hunting them just like you did 200 years ago.
And that's the beauty of salt. It's
Right.
a preservative
Yeah.
and one that God made. So before we had to go and manipulate it and try to make things better, salt, and it's a flavor enhancer. So it's this beautiful product that we also, as a world, put an assault on salt as well and demonize that back in I call it like the Jane Fonda era. And we attacked fat and we attacked salt, and the rise of sugar just came up.
Well, and then it was like fake sugar, and then it was fake syrups and fake everything else. It was like, so we're like taking all this stuff that's been in our diets for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Natural. And
Yes.
instead of that, we're saying that's all bad now.
Yeah.
And we're going to add all this stuff that we're making up in a lab to make stuff taste sweeter and you more
Yep.
addicted to
And
it.
you're going to stay sick, but I'm going to tell you, you're actually better.
Right.
I mean, the original gaslighting, right?
Yeah. You're 100% right. Like the what was it, the food chart that you learned when you were in school? Like when I was big, and now they talk about it, I was like, that's complete garbage. Like,
Yeah.
5 groups, five
there's
food groups.
nothing
Well,
about
and the
that.
BMI, I'm 160 pounds. I'm like, if you're just listening, like, you're not going to look at me and say I look obese.
No.
But according to BMI, I am.
Yeah. Well, when I went in the military, I was 185 at 5'10", which was obese or
Yeah.
overweight. And, because they just looked at a specific stat
Yeah.
number, right?
Yes.
But now, now you have 60-70% of the population that is obese and nobody wants to talk about it
Yeah.
because that means that we have to say all that stuff we've been pumping into these foods that we've been allowing all these manufacturers to do is like really killing our country slowly.
Well, and the consumer, so we want to have an attack on big farm and big pharma, but you got to remember, like, your dollar supported that. Like, everybody needs to just own their spot in the whole thing. Your dollars and your lack of research and your too busyness, and you in the school system's taking home ec out, and we make the family too busy to sit down and have a family meal. So everything needs to be microwavable because if it's not convenient, it's not for me. And so everybody's just got to take and own their lane and how we got here, because
Sure.
we all took a seat behind the wheel driving that bus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've all done it. Like, it's funny because even when I was growing up, like, we always sat down to dinner together as a family, right? And now I look at it as like, we don't do that every night.
Yeah.
There's nights we both get done. My wife gets off at work at 7:00 and we just go to Chipotle because it's easy. And then now we don't eat like fast food, like McDonald's and stuff like that. Taco Bell once in a while after volleyball on a Friday night. But
Once in a while, huh?
But it doesn't change the fact that every time I drive into town at like lunchtime, breakfast time, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, the lines in the McDonald's, the Dunkins that are like because nobody's eating at home anymore.
Right. So what happened in COVID was also, one of the blessings that came out of such a crazy, ludicrous time is people, because 40% of the American diet and the American food income was spent on going out to eat. 40%.
That's crazy.
That's a big old chunk of dough and time not spent using your own hands to create a meal for your family, all that. And I'm not attacking the restaurant industry. I believe in it. But what it did was just people got so distracted and unfamiliar with how to make food. And I noticed this just growing up in the meat shop, and I'm taking care of customers before COVID ever happened. So we're talking 20 years ago, is seeing people come in and afraid to buy something because they just had no idea what to do with it. And this was before the Food Network and before Pinterest too, and before,
Right.
obviously way before TikTok. So COVID forced people to figure it out again. And that's, I think, just a pedestal that I come to stand on and stand firmly on, is you can be just so easily swayed if you don't have the foundation of the whole thing under you, and how your food makes you feel. So bringing all the way that back is people would come in COVID, and it was the psychology of just talking with customers to, one, talk them off the ledge that they're not going to die tomorrow and they're not going to die while standing in line, and like their kids are going to get AIDS. Because it was honestly heartbreaking, because I spent time in Ghana with Ohio State as well for about 45 days while I was in college. And so I've seen starving.
Yeah.
And that'll change you. And so I got so angry at our media for making people think that they weren't going to be able to feed their kids.
Right.
Because we had a line, you guys have been to the market, from the door to Broadway.
Wow.
And there were mothers in that line who came from hours away or over state lines, who we just saw on the internet because you guys still had something, you guys still had meat. And while our local grocery stores and the big guys weren't able to have anything in their shelves, it's like, how dare you make a family feel like they can't feed their kids?
Right.
This is the United States of America. what are they doing? I was so just righteously angry for that season. And like, okay, not on our watch. And it was 100-hour weeks to just make sure. And we never ran out. Not a single day did we have something to say, no. Did we ration people? Yeah. Say, I can give you 5 pounds today and I can give you 5 pounds tomorrow. And honestly, the market became a place where people could hang out because everything else is closed.
Yeah.
So we can't hang out.
What about toilet paper though?
Oh my gosh.
How was your toilet paper?
We never ran out of toilet paper.
It's 2025 now, and I just finally like used my last sheet from 2020. So just not that I was one of the hoarders or anything. Did I just admit that?
Did you have a knife pulled on you?
Yeah.
I mean, people lost their lives over toilet paper.
Oh my God. It's
Humans
insane.
are crazy.
It is crazy to look back at some of that stuff where you're just like, oh my God, we acted so insane during, COVID specifically, but it was like.
We don't want to go down like any conspiracy rabbit holes today per se, but like, the answer kind of always goes back to media. Like their business is basically keeping eyeballs stuck or earballs stuck to what they're saying and what they're selling, right? And that's who benefited the most during that time is just because fear makes you look for answers, whether it's the internet, your friends, the radio, the TV, whatever. Like,
well, the other thing fear does is people all handle fear differently, right? In every scenario,
right?
Like you think about kids going to play football for the first time, right? One of the kids is going to love to hit. The opposite of spectrum is that is one kid is going to avoid contact at all basis, right? Yeah. And that goes into anything that you can do in life, somebody's first day of work, first day of school, college, anything. So when you take those, when you go after those fears, for example, do you guys remember the killer bee story back in like the 90s on the news?
Oh, yeah.
If that would
Africanized honeybees?
If that would come out today, my wife, who I think is allergic to bees, I don't know because I've never seen her get stung, but she will.
She's terrified of them.
She is absolutely terrified of them. So if the news came out and said that this colony of killer bees went to Ohio, like
we're moving to Mars.
Like it would be an insane, because that would be her reaction to bees, right?
Yeah.
So when you do stuff like when you can scare people about product being in stock or food, or you have the haves and the have-nots in some cases, and the guys that have are, if they're extremely paranoid of running out of something, then they're the people that then contribute to buying all the toilet paper, right? Mm-hmm. And then the regular person is like, not that big of a deal.
You already saw my punchline coming here. It's like, okay, I've just been called out on.
But then the regular person who's like me, who I won't go shop for toilet paper until there's 2 rolls left. I don't care what the news says. And then I show up and I'm like, holy crap, they really are out of toilet paper. And I'm driving around at 2 a.m. going from and it's like, that was created because of somebody's extreme fear. And they did the same thing with food, which then caused people to go buy 100 pounds of ground beef when they could have just called a local farm and ordered a whole cow and been completely fine.
Yes.
So that's just what that news media does, basically. And that, I think, is centered too around like, okay, who's sponsoring news media and what do we need from them, right? So you saw the big thing with, obviously, pharma, I think now contributes 80% of the advertising to the news. So what is every commercial that you see on TV now? Oh, you have this? That's okay. We have a drug. If you have this, if we have a drug, or you have diabetes, nobody's ever, there's nothing on there like advertising like, hey, eat a healthy meal today or go out and exercise today. Or, like when I was a kid, it was an apple a day will keep the doctor away or something like that.
Yeah, we're going to kill that message.
Yeah, like those little things
people
are
healthy. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, those little things have gone away. And now that media fear is like, hey, you need a prescription for essentially everything. What are you nervous in big crowds? Get on this at 7 years old and spend the rest of your life on it because it's impossible to get off of it, right? All right, let's get back to the Keller Farms story. So it's so easy to get on tangents. All right, so you guys start the farm, you get into meat processing. What led to the big thing now, which is the market on 42 there?
So the marketplace started because I would sit there in the office and just hear our customers say, we wish you had more fresh cuts. We wish you were closer. We wish you had this. And for me, bottom line is people will tell you how they want you to take their money. You just have to listen and just learn to provide what people are asking for. And so that was it. I knew we were gridlocked, and we're currently looking to build a new processing plant right now, but that takes land and space. So we're looking how to do that because we've added on to that place since 2009 now 5 times.
This is the place that you from Whiteheads or
Yeah, from Whitehead. So we moved and built a new place in 2009 to where it's at now on 83 there.
Okay.
But that's still gridlocked. There's a farm field around it, but we don't own that.
right.
So we need to grow because we have this meat coming out the walls, and we've done just about all we can without building a second story,
Right,
like building
right.
a skyscraper style meat processing thing. So I'm like, first time for everything, I guess. But looking to do that. So, and I was just starting to take a look at where our customer was coming from. So we had a lot coming from Lorain County, a big coming from Cuyahoga County, and a good portion coming from the east side of Medina County and out of the Akron Bath. I'm like, okay, so I just started looking and researching if I want to put a retail place, where would I do it? And it was Christmas, I think of 2014. I made this list of what we were going to do and my goals for the business for going into the next year. And one of those was build a retail shop. And it was in my desk drawer. And my dad gets a hold of it and he sees that list and he writes next to that one, good luck with that. And I was like, okay, well, if you're not going to do this, I'll just figure it out. And I also knew I wanted to be able to figure out, do more R&D, like research and development on products. So we're under an ODA, Ohio Department of Ag licensing at the plant. And it just takes more time to roll out things through the red tape of the regulatory body. So I knew I wanted to have something under local health because you can do things faster.
Real quick, what is, because I'm not familiar with that. So what does that mean? Like you guys have to go through obviously certain certifications and things like that in order to butcher meat. And
Yes.
So that's the ODA aspect.
So
of it.
So 2 things. You don't have to have any sort of certification too, but you do if you're going to sell it to somebody else.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So anybody could butcher meat in their backyard
Yep.
and make it, but in
Yeah.
order to sell it to the public, you go through the ODA, and that's where that comes from.
Correct. Yeah. So we have an inspector there for hours every single day, watching everything we do.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. So then when you say the rollout aspect of it, which I'm assuming is more into the market where like you have seasons and spices and things like that, is that what you
Seasoned
mean?
spices, sausages, anything.
So that stuff, you couldn't do that out of the other plant without going through a huge process and then
Yeah.
having to probably separate it, probably needing to expand and all kinds of other stuff, right?
Yeah, so I'd have to get it all developed before I could get it in the first mouth, get the label approved, and get
Gotcha.
it before I could get it in the first mouth to say whether it was even palatable or
Right,
not, or
right.
enjoyable or tasty
Yeah.
and savory, and just the response that you'd want to have if you're going to invest something. So I was like, I can do this a better way. And so to just have some more freedom, I built that market for a multiple of different reasons, to be able to do that, to give the customer more retail cuts. So that the Medina market is 90% retail driven, as its main customer base and going home for groceries. Whereas the processing facility is more custom processing, like 90 there and 10% wholesale, or
Right.
80, 10, 10. Yeah.
So how did you land on the space in Medina? Because I remember actually, I was just telling the story because we were eating there last night, and I was like, I remember coming in here with my grandpa to get birdseed from the feed store when I
Right.
was a kid, right?
Yes.
And then it like eventually closed down, and it was just an abandoned building there forever. So 2014, how did you come across that spot?
So the people that I ended up connecting with and to buy that building with, so it's a group of 3 other partners that invested into buying it. So the one family that they own the restaurant, that's one of the partners in the building, and myself. And I was going and looking around at other places, as far north as into Strongsville, and looking, all over, like just where do we go? Something in what I call like the big box town part of Medina. At that time, Golden Corral was sitting vacant, so we were looking at that. And just one day, I'm sitting in that parking lot, just me, and I had a red Jeep named Ruby, and her and I just sitting in that parking lot as it was abandoned. And I just prayed with the steering wheel, me, God, and the steering wheel, and just like, God, what about this place? Because for me and my family, that was the farmers exchange, right? You were just selling your story. Well, that building built back in originally 1904 is what gave the ability for a family like mine in Northeast Ohio to be able to buy and transfer and transport farm goods to a place to get your supplies that you needed and your feed and sell what you had. So it was an exchange.
Right.
So it was positioned there in conjunction with the railway to connect farming across the country at times. So that part of it fell through. And that's where we landed on, okay, we're just going to keep it in-house. And my other partners who are very commercial savvy, they ran all the numbers like this, we're going to put apartments in there and we're going to target this market and that upper middle class apartment customer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we landed on that.
The place is awesome. I haven't seen the apartments upstairs, but I've heard they're pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's 2 floors of apartments, and there's 16 total, and they're all every 2 bedroom. Honestly, one of the apartments in there is bigger than my first house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was a small house, but
I didn't realize there were
still.
16 of them up there. I thought there was like 5 or
What's
6.
a 50,000 square foot building?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I was 28 years old when I bought that with partners. So I look back, I'm like, how the heck did these people want to do a $6 million project? I look back, I'm like, what were they thinking?
That is crazy, right? But hey, you know what? It's panned out because that's one of my. We just because we were there last night. It's like this place is so cool. I hope that because obviously there's mayoral races going on right now for Medina. It's like I hope they find a way to more connect the square to this side of this down here, because for me living on the south side of the square. Like that's like where I want to go. I don't really want to go past that.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to big box land?
So no, I don't. I prefer to stay away from there. So the more stuff that comes over this way, and my wife and I talked this morning because really the best breakfast spot in town is because you guys are only open, the restaurant's only open there like on Sundays. I think every other Sunday or something.
Yeah, and they're closed on Mondays.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's like having a place to go get breakfast.
Yeah, they're not a breakfast place.
No,
Yeah, they're
we usually go to First Watch.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I wish some of these places will start coming to the south side of Medina, especially with like another 1,000 houses being built out here. But that place has just it's got everything. And you guys have really grown the storefront. So is the bistro or the coffee aspect yours as well?
Yeah, so it didn't start that way, but COVID forced everything that way. So that performa, that business was only built off the 1,000 square feet where you see the fresh meat cases. That's all I wanted to have because I'm still running operations at the plant.
Right.
And the perimeter of the marketplace was all separate micro vendors inside of there when it first started. In the cafe, I had a partner in, and they had the restaurant expertise. I did not. I mean, I'm in the food industry, but every part of the food industry is a different animal. And I grew up with catering with my mom's company, catering, and meat packing world. Learning the retail side of things was already going to be a massive new learning curve of how to handle that product because not only does it pain me to throw something out because that's money in a trash can, but going back to just seeing somebody hungry will just change you. And I can't throw good quality food out when other people don't even know what that looks like,
Yeah, for sure.
So that COVID shook all that out. So I built that business off of just 1,000 square feet. And then within that first year, which was 2020, it had to assume all the responsibility. So it had to assume 5 times. So it went from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet of responsibility
so that
financially.
Entire aspect, the coffee shop, that little store area behind it, that's all now falls under your business.
It's all Keller Market.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because originally it was 1904 to go off of the birth date, the original building date of the building. And so just over time, just rebranded it and to not have things going in too many different directions. It's like, okay, this is all just going to be Keller Market.
Was that because because you had vendors that were running those outside like those little extra spots? Is that because they just couldn't handle, like they just were not doing well and they were
more or less, yeah. They had for, either family reasons or employee reasons, or they had to pare down what their business was doing and they had to put more of their eggs instead of being spread so thin. They're like, okay, in order for us to stay financially stable as a family, we got to cut that loss. And so, that's where they just started like one by one. It's like, if somebody can't afford to pay, what am I going to do? I'm not going to waste my time. I'm already in a mess of being sued, like the whole building partnership. It was wild. That was at the
What?
same time I was being sued for 1.8 million. Oh, it was wild. We didn't, that could be a whole other episode.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yes.
What way to tease it? Like, no big
Yeah.
deal.
We're gonna have to
Yeah.
come back
1.8.
for part 2 on that.
Anyway,
part.
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about the power of God, because I was living with a monster of a guy. So I was married to a guy that was abusive, and I'm getting sued for 1.8 million, and the craziness of COVID. The power of God is so real.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted. It looks like that's Erica, isn't it? And
Yes,
she is
that's-
holding it together so well right now.
She's
This
a
is
force.
Unverified,
She is
but
a
I heard
force.
that she's expecting their third.
So
I
I don't know if that's true, but Nina said that. I'm gonna pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
We can just listen for a second.
This bag costs $60.
Darn you, YouTube.
For a
Yeah, I think my wife found out that
3-month
wasn't
supply.
true.
That it
Everybody
was
understand?
But they are the
fake
kind of
news.
couple where they're. Oh.
And I want all of you to know, while Charlie died far too early, he was also ready to die. There was nothing he was putting off. There was nothing that was too hard or too painful, or nothing that he just felt like he didn't want to do it. He left this world without regrets. He did 100% of what he could every day. But I want you to know something. Charlie died with incomplete work, but not with unfinished business.
I hope she's looking up, because there's that many people to look up to. Yeah.
But I will miss him. I will miss him so much, because our marriage and our family were beautiful. And they still are. The greatest cause in Charlie's life was trying to revive the American family. When he spoke to young people, he was always eager to tell them about God's vision for marriage, and how, if they could just dare to live it out, it would enrich every part of their life in the same way that it enriched ours. And someone once asked me how Charlie and I, how we kept our marriage so strong when he was busy traveling. And our little secret, it was love notes. Every Saturday, Charlie wrote one for me, and he never missed a Saturday. And in every single one of them, he'd tell me what his highlight was for the week, how grateful he was for me and our babies. And always at the end, he would always end it with asking the most beautiful question. He'd always end it by asking, "Please let me know how I can better serve you as a husband." Charlie perfectly understood God's role for a Christian husband. A man who leads so that they can serve.
Man, credit to her.
I know.
Jeez, oh man.
What a force.
God, that's got to be so tough. Not only to talk to hundreds of thousands of people and then the millions that are watching, but then just to like try and
Just
keep
to
it
talk.
together. Yeah,
Just a talk period,
yeah.
let alone that kind of setting. Yeah.
And we'll get into that even a little bit more. I just saw that she was talking. I figured we would pull that up for a second and
Sure.
give David a chance for a bathroom break.
I'll drink a gallon of water today. So
Hope you celebrated those toilet paper sheets.
So let's get back into. We'll finish up on this aspect of it, but you go all in on this project. You end up, expanding the market beyond what you kind of expected.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going today? And what's the next step for the market and yourself in that aspect?
Yeah, so how it's all going today is, I will say that the media wants you to believe that people are eating fake meat, and the Kellers are here to tell you they're not, because our sales would say otherwise. The farms around us would say otherwise as they add livestock to their pasture grounds and into their feedlots every year.
Wow.
Yes,
That's awesome. So
absolutely.
the business around here is expanding and doing well in the meat.
Yeah.
The other thing I did want to ask this, because this is something that it's not always convenient, obviously, to come to the Kellers to shop when you have to get all this other stuff, right? So there's times that we'll just get ground beef while we're in town or whatever. But I'm surprised at how affordable you guys are priced at, even versus the big box stores.
Right.
You guys are usually less.
Yes. So there might be a couple products that are more priced, but we don't have to cut or pay a whole bunch of middlemen. That was also one of the reasons we never ran out of things in COVID. It's not that we ever thought intentionally like that to build a business. I wish I could say I was that smart, but that absolutely not. It's just how we've always done business, is more direct farm to fork. Before it was a trendy saying.
Right.
It was what we did.
So because you guys are supplying food for just your own store, you don't have to worry about who you're giving it to, who you're not. You're not doing it based off how they sell X amount of this and they sell X amount of this. You're just supplying one spot. Well, 2 locations really, but so that helped kind of monitor your supply.
Yes.
And then that also keeps your prices down because you're not forcing multiple stores to outbid each other for your product.
Sure. Yep. And while we're in a business to have a healthy bottom line, it's not what we keep in mind.
Sure.
In fact, I would say we should probably look at that even a little bit more, just to steward being entrepreneurs and business owners better. But it's not what we keep in mind. We keep our customer in mind all the time. We just love people. I go back to my mom building a bigger kitchen table, so that way there's always an extra seat.
Yeah. Well, and here, I don't want to talk poorly about this competitor because we'd love to have them on eventually talk, but you look at like the Bearded Butchers and what they've built over there.
Yeah.
Their retail store, anytime I've been there, there's only usually 1 to 5 cars in the parking lot at the most, right? And part of the reason I think that is they're extremely expensive. Now, it's great if you want to go there for some exotic meats, like we had alligator and some different stuff there. And
yeah.
They had the cowboy steak, which was like a 12-pound steak or something like that, which was kind of cool to grill out for a party. But ultimately, like, their ground beef is almost double what it is to buy it at Keller's. And I know that you guys are sourcing it locally. I think they source it from multiple different aspects. But that obviously that's keeping you guys in, how do I word this? While you're not, maybe there's room for growth as far as pricing and things like that. That's also one of the reason you guys are so busy, I think, because that people know that they're not going, and it's a retail spot. So like there's going to be certain things you might pay a little bit more for inside of a store like that. But when it comes to your guys' beef, you guys are priced so competitive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because
is all the meat there? Is it all your farm by Keller, or do you guys sell some?
There's no way our farm is not big enough to sustain either place, and it's never been, and it's not what we want. We've always believed in growing up other farms. We definitely believe in growing simultaneously. So all the way back in the beginning, you made a comment like that we are a jealous nation. Like, if somebody else is growing, that means I'm not. But I'll go back to God will never deliver the mail to the wrong house. So if you just know that you're going to be taken care of, I don't have to worry about my sale going somewhere else. We're just going to continue to do the honest job that we do. And with, yes, marketing tactics and all that, but bottom line, we're just going to stay trustworthy, honest, and keep the customer in mind.
So with the meat, you guys have people like local farms and stuff that are providing you guys with the cattle. Is that right?
Yeah. So,
and then you guys are doing the processing and then placing that out.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
we're going to be a quality over local first too.
Right.
Because just because it's local doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be a quality over local.
You're not going to put your name
sense.
on anything that's not good.
Because if you're going to eat shoe leather, you're not going to eat it again. You're not even going to finish it.
Right.
And for me, if a customer sends me a picture of their plate and they've got 3/4 of their meat still left on it and they say like they're done, I'm going to be like, why?
Yeah.
I want to know, why didn't you finish that? Why? What went for you?
Right.
And because if you're not finishing it, then that's the money that you spent in the trash. It means multiple of things. So I'm going to find out why. and it could have been that they were full,
Right.
or it could have been that the animal wasn't up to quality. And if it's not up to quality, then you're going to get that replaced. And we're going to then go back to, hey, when did you get that? So we can figure out where the source came from.
Sure.
Just to find out, hey, did the other steaks from that loin also have the same result? And if it's more than one, then there has to be something else going on here that says it's something more on our end that we need to take a deeper dive into.
That was going to be my next. I wasn't sure. Do you guys mark yours anyway, so you know where certain?
Not to that level of really like traceability to that, but we can narrow it down just because of the size that we are and what day they came in,
Right.
And okay, what were we cutting that day? So we can start by clues. Okay, and narrow it in and figure that out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering because I imagine it'd be kind of tough to do that because obviously there's certain days that you're cutting steaks and then you're just putting the rest to the side until later. But yeah,
it's interesting though to think about that, and that's the benefit of shopping somewhere like that versus any other big box place. Because you can go back there and you can complain, and they'll just give you a refund, or you can go pick out something else. But like, none of the big box places are going to change anything about their business practice based on your complaint.
No,
but
and they're
a
not
local
gonna,
place.
and they're not going to be able to go back and narrow it down.
No.
And if they're not going to care to. I mean, they're not
No,
going
and
to care. To
it
go
financially just doesn't make sense for
No.
them
Right.
either.
Yeah.
Like,
Unless
to
it's
put
causing a
whole
bunch of
person
people to
on
get
that.
sick and they end up on the news.
That's the difference.
That's the time
Well,
that they
but-
can. Then all of a sudden they can narrow it down.
But even with that, they even have a contingency for that just because of their volume. So same thing. Yeah, they're not going to look at the dates and process that because it was farmed in one of like 20,000 farms, in the middle of Iowa or somewhere
Right.
else. So not
So
here.
the restaurant's still separate from you. That's the last
that's a
remaining.
different
and then
family.
you guys now are you responsible for finding vendors like we had Kirk on from Big Dog Daddy and the Medina breweries down there. Is that part of you finding vendors for that, or is that the building?
So one of my partners in the building is the building management company.
Gotcha.
So that's their arm and their skin in the game for
Okay.
it. Yeah, and what they're paid for because I did not want to be a landlord.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah,
one bit.
I had no grid for that and no desire.
Yeah.
So yes.
So what happened to Rock the Dock? I feel like I didn't see that this year as much.
Oh no, we did it just a couple times, and we were just shifting to when the events for the city started to change. So we ended up having the Southtown Music Fest, and it's like we just more or less it kind of fell off for no reason other than it just fell off.
Just fell off.
Yeah.
Just got life gets
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
Now the big thing that's changing recently is the Taekwondo place went away.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden your parking lot is much more accessible. How is that affecting business?
So positively,
Yeah.
because nobody wants to carry groceries a block. Not in Medina.
Right.
That same customer will carry groceries in, University Circle or, downtown New York City because they're accustomed to it and they expect it coming in.
They're already on
but the
foot to get
Medina
there.
customer
Yeah.
is not going to do that. So while we had great sales, I've done nothing but grow every single year and turn a profit every year, which is just not even heard of when you open up a brand new business
Right.
in the midst of COVID. So I know that there's definitely a positive impact that having parking has, because it was, and all back to like the lawsuit part too, like the layout of the parking lot was never supposed to be that. It just like ended up that way
Gotcha.
because of the general contractor. We're like, what are you doing? This is not what we
Oh,
said. So
really?
there was far less spaces. Yeah. I mean, just so many things were just a mess.
Oh my gosh. Sounds like we
Yeah.
could definitely have a whole, because we've talked about that too. Is just like, there's probably so many different things we could have a conversation on. We could bring some other people in involved too. Cause like, for instance, is who chooses the business that come into Medina and how does that process look like? And what are the plans for that? Because one of the frustrations I've always had with the square is like, I want to see more businesses like yours. You have a little shop, you have a restaurant that's attached to it. You have housing that's up there. So it kind of brings people into the community that are part of the day to day. You got the little bar downstairs instead of like, we have like cable offices on the square. And it's like, gosh, there's so many more things that could be there that would bring community to the square and to that center of Medina. I do think it's starting to get that way. But even today I was driving to like recently a couple of the buildings just did like facelifts. They kind of like repainted and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it looks so much better out here now.
Yeah, and they
Getting
just
there.
did that road construction, and then they left it looking like a botched surgery job.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck's going on? But now they got that repaved. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll get off my high horse here.
I hope, I don't know if it would work because I'm not an engineer in that aspect, but like one of these days, I'm like, will somebody just make the one side of the square one way and the other side the other way? I feel like that could be done.
At one time, it was like that.
Was it?
So there was when the Farmers Exchange was the Farmers Exchange, there was a hay parade, and we found the old pictures of that, and it was like all one ways.
Really?
And trucks so when Reagan was built, that was supposed to be the bypass for trucks to go outside of the Medina Square. But then they decided to put houses on it, so it couldn't be the bypass anymore. And it was only supposed to be the trucks coming in for deliveries to the businesses. So I know.
Yeah,
But
'cause
once upon a time, it used to be
I
this side and that side.
I can't imagine it wouldn't even be that difficult because there's enough crossroads and stuff. But it's like, man, the square has so much potential.
Yeah, that's
but,
above my pay grade to
yeah,
know the
right.
engineering aspect of it too. Yeah.
All right, you guys got any more questions about that aspect?
About the square and engineering better traffic there.
No.
Hey, we could turn a square into a roundabout and cause a whole ruckus about roundabouts.
Oh my gosh, I love roundabouts.
I
By
love
the way,
roundabouts.
No, I deal with them in Canton all day.
they're the
I
best.
love
There's
roundabouts.
no traffic.
I love roundabouts. I fell in love with them when I was in Australia, and I was like, we need to do these in America, and they started popping up. So here's a honest stat from right over by Buckeye. They put a roundabout in at
The main one off of-
Spieth.
yeah.
Spieth in 252. That intersection killed somebody every single year, and I think about a dozen nasty accidents.
Wow,
To date, since they put that roundabout in, there's not been one single accident.
really?
Yep.
I mean, so like I said, I've done a lot of travel. Like you go to anywhere in Europe, Italy, Switzerland, England, Ireland, Iceland. They're all roundabouts. Like
Yeah.
they don't have 4-way stops anywhere. And the one that they just put in here, while it's only a 3-way, is that one at 162 and Route 3.
Oh yeah.
That changed traffic so dramatically. And
Yeah.
then the other spot,
There's
which
been a lot of accidents in that one, by the way.
what in the roundabout?
Yeah. There's
Well,
that
that's
one.
because
that's
people
the
are trying to
stat-
take it at
that's
50
the-
miles an
the
hour.
stat buster is
Yeah.
that one because that one's had, I think, like 15 collisions in there because people don't understand
That was a
it.
brutal intersection. If you were coming off
Yes.
of what is that, Poe?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
162.
Oh, 162.
When you came
Yeah.
into that
It was
stop,
Russian
you-
roulette. You,
could-
might as well just close your eyes and pray.
Yeah, and you could
gun it.
and you could also be there for like 45 minutes at the light, like depending on the time
Your
of day.
wife's like, "Where are you?" You
Yeah.
said you'd be
I'm
home. Like, I'm
close.
still at the intersection.
I'm close.
well, and then the other one is the one at 162 in River Styx, and it's funny because I think at one point the town was trying to put a turnaround there, or what do you call it?
Traffic circle is
roundabout.
what they're
traffic
called here.
circle. But like the houses that were there like fought it, and I'm like, as I was driving down this intersection, they'd have like 8 signs from on their front yard where it started to where it backed up, and like I'm sitting there stopped in traffic, and I'm like, so wait, you would not want a roundabout, but you love the fact that like every day at 5 o'clock and 7 a.m. in the morning, there's
Constant
like
parade
20
of-
cars in each direction, like just stop and go.
Can't get out
one
of your
at a
own
time.
driveway.
No.
I'm like, this is crazy.
That's what is the saying? Cut off your own nose to spite
Yeah,
yourself. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you feel about Michigan lefts?
Michigan lefts?
You've never heard of a Michigan left?
No,
I know how I feel
know.
about Michigan.
Yeah.
Go Bucks.
Oh, yeah. You were an Ohio State grad. That's
Yes.
right.
They put in a Michigan left at Westfield and 224
Oh, where you're
where
on
you
the
can't
highway.
cross. You have
What is the Michigan left?
So that's like a local. I'm not from Michigan, obviously, but no, that's if you Google it and you're on your own time, it's entertaining. But you'll notice all the major neighborhoods in Michigan, so there's no intersections.
Yes.
You pass where you're going, and you have to make a left to then make a right.
So now that you
Oh.
say that, I know what you're talking about because
Yeah.
I spent a lot
It
of time
was like
for
median.
work.
There's like a median strip
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have those up towards the Rocky River area.
There's some up there, but they put one in at
224
Westfield and
Westfield.
224.
So if you're
Okay.
driving down 224, yeah, you got to go into the left lane,
Make a U-turn.
U-turn, and then take a
And then
right
take
on
a
the
right
road.
to
Yeah,
be able to
but
go
there,
south.
I mean, there was a lot of intersection on 224. Growing up, I went to Cloverleaf, and like a lot of accidents happened at like they closed off Harris
Yeah.
Road altogether.
yeah, they like dead ended it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of accidents
Yeah.
that happened at that spot.
They're going to do the same thing, Leroy. You won't be able to, in that same, about a mile up, you
Yeah.
won't be able to turn out on
Oh,
Leroy
really?
either. They're going to do the same thing.
But yeah, in Michigan, those are everywhere. Like every 100, 200 feet.
I
in
didn't know
some
that was called the
spots.
Michigan left.
I don't think
We're
it's
gonna be
legit
against it
called
just
that.
for
I
that
think
name
he
now.
just made that up.
Why don't you Google it
Yeah.
and see what it comes up with?
But they're annoying in Michigan because they're 2 lanes too.
Yeah.
So like you're in a 2-lane or 3-lane road, and then you get into a 2-lane turning signal, and then the inside left can turn left on red, but the outside left has to wait for the light to turn green, and it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that, but now that you say what it is, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember those every day.
Yeah.
That is true.
What's
The Michigan left.
It's called a Michigan left. Oh, Evan
He
with
just did the homework.
the insightful
Super fast.
Evan
I didn't even hear
comes
his
to-
keys typing. Stealth mode over here.
He has that ESPN.
Yeah, he's just telepathing.
Yeah, he's just telling
Message
Google what to
Oh,
look
I
up.
kind of like speak to it a little sometimes.
That's funny. All right, so let's get into what you're doing now. Let's talk about a couple of your programs online, because you've always been into fitness, right? That's not
Yeah.
like something that you just started recently.
No.
But you
Right.
have 2 programs that you do some online coaching and kind of empowering of local people. Is it mostly women based, or is it for anybody?
It's for anybody, and it has been anybody. So the first rollout of the 40-day pursuit to healthy and holy happened and spurred because back in March, I was out on a walk, and it was a frosty early morning, just as the sun was coming up, and I heard the Lord speak, Kayleigh, build thy temple. And I knew just the way it hit me in the spirit, like he wasn't talking about building another building. He's like, the body in which the living God dwells in is broken. You know, we touched on this earlier too. You said like the obesity issue that we have in our country, which Australia used to not have that issue, and that's a growing issue over there too. And that just the sprawl of obesity and it becoming normal. No, it's not normal just because it's a lot of. So when he said that, it took me a couple months to hear him more and to seek him more. And what are you saying, God, about a healthy lifestyle and the parallels that I couldn't unsee, the way that I've let go of like habits in my own life and how I just don't suffer with disease and sickness.
Right.
You know, just living a holy lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle and putting those 2 things together, because it's not just reading the Bible and not eating good food.
Right.
You know, so how, and you can't unsee as well, people that you respect, most of them are physically fit. And just the way that you first analyze somebody when they walk into a room is without them speaking, you automatically just start giving them a little bit more respect just because of the way that they steward their body, you know, not to manipulate a situation and not to get something for free and this and that. There's an unspoken, oh, that person's got a level of discipline about them. And they've got a strong no and a strong yes, instead of this gray area that we've become comfortable in. Well, it depends on who I'm with. Then I'll be more this way or
Right.
more that way. And I just like got so firmed up. Like, no, my no is no and my yes is yes. And my yes to staying strong and healthy, because I fully believe in like, be built and ready for the battle. Don't live every day like it's war, but be built and ready. That if you're called upon, and for me, I was driving by, and this is probably 2 or 3 years ago, maybe more. I was driving by a pond, and I'm looking at this pond, and I thought to myself, if somebody was drowning, could I save them? And like, I need to make sure that that's always a bold, capital, exclamation point at the end, yes. Or what else? What else is it for?
Right.
Like, I'm not here to do, you know, big eating contests, which I think that that's a great industry and this and that. But like, what is my strength for?
Sure.
And stewarding it in that direction, like that's my bold yes, because you know, a stage can be ripped out from underneath you, but the love and passion to make sure that I'm built for battle every day so that I can take on what running a business with 60 some employees looks like, what stewarding and being a champion of the faith looks like. I mean, a man just lost his life, was shot in the vocals for being vocal about Christ.
Right.
You can't unsee this. And if you're down and out and sick, you're not living out your calling. You're not living out your mission. And in fact, you're more self-centered in that moment. because you got to take care of yourself and you're down and out. I bet all of you guys here hate being sick.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
you feel like a POS, you feel lazy, like all the self-talk that happens. And I'm like, no, I need more prayers to be not about myself and God heal this in me when they got to be more on mission going in another direction. So choosing to live a holy lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle of how to steward those things with my food and my fitness enables me to live out my calling just and be on fire and on mission every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point too. And, you talk about, we've had a lot of guys that are into bodybuilding and things like that. And it's an awesome, it takes so much discipline. I have nothing but respect for
Absolutely.
them. But at the same point in time, healthy doesn't just mean like aesthetically looking healthy.
Right.
It is those things like, and I thought about, it's funny you say that because I thought about that too. Like every scenario that plays out or when you see something on the news or something, it's like, what would I have done in that scenario? Would I have been different?
Yeah.
Like would I have been a victim or would I have been able to make a difference?
Yeah.
Would I have been able to help somebody? And I think that if more people looked at their life on a daily basis like that, like I don't have to be the strongest guy in the gym, but if I'm in the gym, I'm one step closer to being able to raise my kids to be a little bit better. I'm able to, help another kid out and they don't have to look at me as like, dude, you couldn't even run to get a donut, let alone like keep up with me. Like, I don't want that, that approach because you're right. When somebody walks in the room, we've had this conversation before. When somebody walks in the room and they have an athletic build or they're fit or they look like they're in shape, they're usually dressed better. They usually come off as more professional. And you do have a level of respect for them that's different because you're like, wow, this guy has the discipline to work out. He's a leader. He takes care of himself. Like you just feel a little bit differently when you're speaking to them. They do earn a certain level of respect versus the person that has something to say, but their, pants aren't fitting correctly because they don't take care of their body and then they just get loud and vocal. And there's just a different level there. And it's not to say that, everybody has to be in their peak physical position in order to earn respect, but it does help.
Yeah. It is a piece of it.
Sure.
Yeah. It's an undeniable piece of it. And the amount of self-consciousness too. I'm not sitting there wondering, how do I look in my pants? I'm not sitting there wondering if, any part of me is hanging out.
Right.
So otherwise, because that's just distracting thoughts.
Right.
Again, like back to a mission and a purpose. Like that's just making a scene about yourself. And I'll hear this from friends too. Like, you don't ever wonder like what somebody's thinking about you from across the room? No.
I never.
No. I'm not wondering if they think I look weird with my hands up worshiping. I'm not wondering if I'm rolling over the top of my pants. Like, no.
Yeah, I never.
I'm going to buy clothes that fit me. First off, like, there's all sorts of sizes. So
right.
size up if you need to.
Yeah. No, but I think that's just a good aspect to have in general. It's like, even with, you have guys on there talk about how hard it is to date and things like that. It's like, well, typically it's hard. It's probably harder to date when you're always worried about what everybody else is thinking. Cause that means you're just not necessarily happy with yourself.
Yeah. Sure.
Whereas if you could just be confident and happy in yourself on a day-to-day basis and you don't worry about whatever things are, that energy carries too.
Yes.
So with your with bringing in like Jesus and the religious or relationship with Christ aspect of it, when did that start for you? When did that start being like a day-to-day focus and part of your life? Has it always been there since being raised as a kid? Or?
No. Yeah, being raised, praise God, my parents introduced us to the faith, making sure we went to Sunday school as little ones. And then sports and work and being slave to the calendar took over for a long period of time. And then I dated this dude in Nashville, Tennessee area. Met him at I was down there with my mom and my brother at a barbecue convention of all things. And he was one of my mom's best friends, actually from her Kmart days, that lived down in the Mount Juliet area just outside of Nashville.
Yeah.
And they were either family of some side. And that's how I met him.
Okay.
So this just short little 3-month relationship happened. And one day I'm down there staying and I'm brushing my teeth and he's in the shower and not living a holy life. Let me be clear about this period of time in my life. And he says, Kayleigh, how's your relationship with God? And like mid brush, I'm like, we know each other like word for word. And he's like, you want to go to church today with my family? And I was like, I'm thinking, what the heck do I have to wear that I brought to Nashville, Tennessee that I can wear to church? And I'm like, oh boy, I guess I'm going to wear this little hoochie mama romper that I got because at least it covers all of the main bases. We roll up on this church and I was like, is this a campus? Like a college campus? He's like, no, this is our church. I go, what the heck did I just walk into? And we walk into that church, which has a trolley going through the parking lot to pick up people because that's how big this church is. I walk in and there's 15,000 people in the sanctuary. And I was like, this is what they mean about buckle the Bible belt. I was like, what? And there's this guy on stage and that's the first time I ever saw a band. So this is 2015.
Okay.
That's the first time I ever saw a band in a church. The first time I ever saw drums. And I was like, I'm pretty confident that is Jesus Christ playing the drums right now. Like I was so like enamored and just awestruck. Like what am I witnessing right now? And there's this guy and he was a guest pastor. I'd never even heard of guest pastors. And his name is Pastor Tony. And he was talking about that Jesus Christ set him free from drugs and alcohol. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, I never heard somebody talk about this. I've never heard this. And all of a sudden, 14,999 people all disappeared. I kid you not. And this Pastor Tony just gave an altar call. And I forgot I was there with anybody else. And it was just what I look at now in my first encounter with the Holy Spirit. And it was Pastor Tony, Jesus on the drums, and me sprinting as fast as I could to the front of that stage and just laying down. And I stayed dating that dude just to go to church with him because I'd never seen anything like it. I didn't know there was things like that around here.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, this is extremely toxic. Like, and I shouldn't need a plane ticket to go to church. Okay, let me find something. So break up with that dude and find 2 different churches around here. And at that time, and so I'd already started CrossFit and was already CrossFitting. And a woman named Heidi Bogue, who owns CrossFit High Gear, her husband is the senior pastor at Grace, and she is co-owner of CrossFit High Gear, and they started doing this thing called Fuel. And so we would play worship music, which was this music that I first ever heard of, this Christian music that apparently has been around a very long time, before 2015. And we'd play that music, do a partner workout together, and somebody was always bringing food. So we'd share a meal, and then we'd live stream in the service from Grace. And that's how first time I ever sat there, and I still have on my phone the first notes I ever started taking in church. And Pastor Jeff gave a message in this series. It was called It's a Match. And it was talking about how God looks at relationships, like friendships, how we should be in dating and how we should be in marriage and the differences of those. And I I couldn't get enough. And I just started running after finding out who God was after I met Pastor Tony and Jesus on the drums. And that's what started it all. And it was just at that time, a slow chipping away of lifestyle choices, and at the time, not really out of rebellion the way I lived. I just didn't know.
Right.
Because the church just wasn't talking about. And I wasn't going enough until I started going enough to hear what God has to say about living and how to live and how to love. And then it wasn't until actually last year that I just finally put a year ago in July. And now I started getting very bold in my faith. And all along the way, like there was definitely the fire starts continuously to grow. And it'd be interesting to ask my family what their take on it all is too.
Like on you personally, like how they've seen you grow over the last, 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah. Yep. Because
now are your folks both alive? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mom and dad are alive. Yeah.
Awesome,
And I've got a brother and a sister.
And they're an older sister and a younger brother. Is that right? Gotcha. Yes.
And I mean, they all followed me to Heartland Community Church.
Oh, really?
Yep. 10 years ago when I said you guys can go to Easter where you guys always go, but you guys go twice a year. I'm like, I've been going here. So I found Heartland and Grace at the same time, and Heartland was closer. So I started going there. I just decided to go there for Easter that year, but I still was doing Grace and Heartland kind of simultaneously, and just wherever I felt like that particular Sunday.
Sure.
And they eventually all followed me, like 20 plus people in my family or friend network ended up following me to Heartland. And God just recently called me out of there, like 10 years to the date, to the holiday. He called me out of there through a series of dreams to just pull me out of Heartland and plant me at Ascent Church, which is up in Westlake.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just learning to live by the voice of the Lord and being obedient to that. It's like, it might be a good thing, but what did God say? And that's how I made business decisions too. It's how I've made hiring some people that have just, it's changed everything. So last summer, I was like, I'm okay. We're never having another meeting. We don't open up in prayer. I'm never going out to eat again where I don't open up in prayer. Like, I don't care. You can join me. You don't have to join me.
Right.
But anything I have authority over, I'm going to open up in prayer.
Sure.
Because I'm alive because of what God did in my life. So to me, it's like that person that pulled you out of a burning car when you were flipped over in a ditch, you're just going to act like you don't know them across the parking lot and not say like, man, thanks, brother, for doing that. Like, that's what Jesus did for me. Like, and I thought I was a grateful person before. And then when he saved my life and I knew he did, it's like, oh my gosh.
Right.
And I'm just so grateful. So I'm going to give him more and more. And I was listening to, I went out to California with a woman named Brooke Thomas, and she runs this thing, Live Out Loud. And it was all women entrepreneurs that are millionaires and billionaires that walk with the humility of Mother Teresa. And I was like, I knew it. I knew there was a way to put faith and business together, because I just kept hearing from like anybody back home this, make sure you keep your employees a number. Don't get too attached because it makes business hard. And I'm like, I just never agreed with that. And I met some people that knew how to do that. And I go, that's what I'm going to follow. I'm bringing this back with me. And I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the relationship that business owners have with employees, you can definitely see that there's benefits to both ways. But ultimately it's whatever is more like, just because there's a better way to do things or a different way to do things, if it doesn't match up with your way of living your life, then it kind of like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if you found a way to bring in what you've learned and bring in the Lord and bring in prayer and things like that to help make decisions, and that's working for you well, I think it only completes your whole life at that point, makes all your decisions that much easier.
Well, he's taken, we've done nothing different except for say like, this is the Lord's business and I'm just stewarding it. And I've seen an increase in my sales every month.
Sure.
That don't make sense.
So
don't make sense except for.
Yeah, well, and that's awesome, because if it's bringing things that are good, it's also then rewarding those who trust in you too, right? Like, so the employees that might think it's a little weird that you guys open up every meeting in prayer, and now they start to see that the results in that, and maybe that leads them down a direct path.
Here's another story, because the Lord had me hire a woman into an admin position in 2023. That was July of 23. By February of 24, she ends up in the hospital, and they're telling her that 22 to 24. Yeah. They're telling her she's got liver cancer, and oh, by the way, it's stage 4, and oh, by the way, it's metastasized to your breast, and oh, by the way, we actually only give you 4 weeks to live.
Wow.
She came into the market and she was the color of Guys Night. Wow. Highlighter yellow.
Wow.
And we stopped everything, and everybody extended a hand towards Jamie. I said, not on my watch. I go, cancer's from the pit of hell, and that's exactly where it can go back. That woman was never supposed to be alive past 4 weeks. She still works for me.
Wow.
And she's fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
and the
incredible.
doctors even told her, there's no way. You are an absolute miracle. It's like, absolutely.
That's awesome.
So it doesn't matter. Like, if somebody gets mad at me or gets offended by my faith, like I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think for those who get offended by faith, it's the same thing as we talked earlier about getting offended by conversation or argument or everything in between. But I do think that, everybody's entitled to have their own relationship with, whether it's God or a higher spirit or whatever they bring into necessary. But I think has to be some kind of relationship that kind of grounds you. How do you think, and we'll bring this kind of to where we're at now with, let's see, where we're at as a country. We're kind of divisive, right? Like one side or the other. Those people obviously still go to church on both sides. How do you see that affect church on Sundays, for instance? And I don't mean to say like, Democrats can't go to church or Republicans or conservatives should own church, but do you find that it becomes harder to see who's genuine in following Christ versus who's just doing it because it looks better in society or their community on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think that's always been an issue. I think that's probably where a lot of people you hear the term church hurt come from, because it is powerful. Like church and faith and what I would call the religious spirit, like it is powerful, but it's in the wrong way. We do fight against spiritual forces of evil, and the Bible tells us that right there in Ephesians 6, we fight not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, authorities, and principalities in the spiritual world. And just when like the Lord starts opening your eyes, it's like even to yourself, you're just like, I'm not even acting like I normally act. Like, what the heck is this? And you just rebuke, like, get spirit of anger, get off me. And I lose peace over myself. And then all of a sudden you're just fine. Like you can't like unsee how quick that happens without a prescription. It's crazy. And you didn't have to pay for it because it was freely given to you by the authority of Jesus Christ. Yeah. So I guess your question was how to the power of that.
Well, just like how it impacts the church community and how, and what does it do to people that are, new to church and that whole, I've been one that's dabbled with church and then kind of backed off. We've had quite a few people on here that have amazing stories that are ministers and pastors and do things like that from all kinds of different aspects. And then things like this happen with Charlie Kirk, and it kind of makes you, like not just question, but also like see the benefit of a man whose life was lived under the power of God. But then you have the aspect of, okay, like, where did that power lead him, right? And it's but then when you have two different people that are in a church and you have somebody that looks like, I feel like that chases people away from church. When you have like the weekend warrior who is there, who says they're everything, but then they're just as judgmental and they are in everything else. So I guess my aspect of it is, do you see that play out inside of church where you have somebody who's almost pretending necessarily to be there, or do you feel like everybody's getting something out of it? I feel like I worded it better the first time, but I'm not sure.
No, I get what you're saying. Okay, so yes, absolutely, because you might be saved but not living free, and so if you're still operating, we're a three-part being, a body, a soul, and a spirit. And the soul is where the wounds, like as soon as you say and you accept Jesus Christ into your life, your spirit's made perfect in an instant, in less than a nanosecond. And you're filled with that, and you've got the Holy Spirit. But your soul is where the cleanup's got to happen. That's like Swiss cheese. And there's those wounds and those hurt places are still right there. So if you don't take time and you're just always on the go and attached to a calendar and an appointment and this and that and doing all the things, you're not going to even take time to recognize that you're operating out of a place that is an old wound. And really that's where the demonic gets to manipulate you by your feelings, or me by my feelings, and where we're called to not lean on your feelings, because that's where we can be manipulated. And taking time to just do the heavy lifting, and we've called it soul searching and called it that for a long time, but it's ushering in the Holy Spirit to start showing you. Like, is your mirror dirty? Like, when's the last time you just sat in front of that and asked the Lord to show you and why you hauled off on somebody that doesn't make sense, or why you're still bitter towards somebody? Like learning how to forgive, because God says he won't forgive us if we don't forgive them. There's spiritual consequences to holding on to bitterness and jealousy and unforgiveness. It just gives the devil a foothold and a way to manipulate and puppet us. So yes, I'll see that in church. It's just part of the human condition that takes an individual to work on. You have to do your own personal work. Like, you don't get biceps without doing the curls. Bottom line.
Right.
You can't Botox your way out of this one, you know?
All right, so let's go into the community now. So with you guys having the Charlie Kirk vigil last weekend, you played a big part in that. Were you part of setting that up, or how did that come together?
No, so my friend Maddie, who we're in a prayer circle together and fight for the faith all the time. She introduced me to her sister about a year and a half ago, and she used to at one point worked with Charlie.
Oh, really?
And so Abby really had the burn on her heart to do a vigil. And Maddie sent into our group text, "Hey guys, Abby is thinking, and myself, about doing a vigil for Charlie Kirk. Just wondering how do you think anybody would receive that, this or that?" And I said, and I instantly text back, go, "I wouldn't care what anybody else thinks. I would say if that's a burden on your heart, to go with it and not worry about how many show up, but just that the Lord's going to bring who needs to be there." And probably the day later, Abby had already gotten the ball rolling, and she had reached out to a couple other churches to lead the prayer part of it, and nobody got back to her. She's like, "Kayleigh, can you do this?" And I was like, "Well, what day and what time are you guys planning?" And it just so happens it's the only day and the only time that I was like, but God.
Yeah.
So no coincidences in my life at all. And I was like, yeah, in there like swimwear, like, yeah, I'll be there. And so that's how that all came together.
That's pretty awesome. That was great what you guys did. And obviously the turnout was huge. I saw something, I thought it was between 2,000 to 3,000. I think I saw something up to 6,000 people. Were
So the
downtown
mayor
at that point.
emailed us on Thursday and said, "I just want you guys to know there was 6,200 people there." And we were thinking like 200 to 300.
Wow.
And 6,200 came out. And the sheriff's department, who I think it was you, told me, so
he said
share
it
that
was-
part. That's amazing.
Yeah, Chris said it was like the largest thing they've had in the square at any point in time without any issues or anything like that.
I mean,
So,
come on.
Yeah, it was
Not
really
a single
exciting.
altercation with that many people in a heightened state of emotion.
I got to tell you, so we were going down there regardless. We had a podcast that evening, and we were like, hey, we have to cut this off because we want to go down to the square. It's funny because I was like, well, I didn't think my wife was going to go. I was kind of excited that she wasn't going to go, not because I don't want her to go with me, but we were going to go down there, shoot some footage, try to talk to some people. And it's just one more thing to keep your eye on, is to make sure your wife's okay when you're in a crowd of a bunch of people. And, obviously you're going down there knowing that there could be people that don't like what's happening. So we're sitting in the crowd. We're like, how many people do you think are carrying right now? And we're like, it's very peaceful. It's very conservative.
So basically almost everyone.
So everybody. Right. But at the same point in time, it's like, man, just like, I find myself like looking at like, just please let this go down without a hitch. Like, please do not let this community, like, don't let this backfire. There's so many, like, all I can think is there's so many kids.
Yeah.
There's so many families here, and it went so smooth, and it was really exciting to see that. Where do you think it goes from here? Because I mean, while a big part of Charlie is his following of Christ and his beliefs, the other part of it was him encouraging conversations amongst people that had opposite spectrums of view. Right. And the idea that everybody was welcome to have a seat at the table and share their beliefs, try to be respectful about it. At the end of the day, hopefully nobody gets hurt other than maybe some feelings, and we part ways as friends. Maybe some people change their minds, maybe some don't. Unfortunately, that desire is what, led to his life ending. But how do you see that? Do you see that as being something that you want to champion in the community? Like, do these events become something? Because I think today there's actually a opposite of Charlie demonstration in the square. I didn't get a chance to see, but like, do you see any avenue to bringing those parties to the table and having open either debates or conversations? Or do you think that's something that you want to keep your hands off of?
No, I would absolutely say that is where I believe, like, the Lord's even leading me personally. So in my personal time, and because it's not like, to use it as a much more drilled down, less intense conversation, but the vegan that comes into the meat market, I'm not here to argue that you don't want to eat meat, but I would love to know why.
Yeah.
I will entertain those conversations. And I don't know where we got so fanatic about screaming at each other. I don't know where that what that even does. I understand being passionate and leading a charge and hollering
Yes.
out and hollering out, not at.
And trying to be convincing and there's nothing wrong with somebody trying to convince you that their point of view is different or better or the way that you should.
I mean, that's marketing 101 right there.
Right.
Anyways.
We're all, everybody gets sold every single day.
Well,
on
let
something.
me ask you this. You were a football guy in high school.
Yeah.
So your answer may be leaning in one direction, not the other. Who was more popular in your high school? The captain of the debate club or the captain of the football team?
Of course, captain of the football team would be.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Why?
Mind-boggling.
Those cheerleaders weren't all about the debate guy with the glasses?
Well, that's
and-
not fair, though.
Why?
A lot's changed in 30 years. God damn.
Wow, you're old.
But a lot has changed. It's funny. You ever see the movie 22
He moved
Jump
quickly
Street?
away from that.
Oh, hold on. I want to show you how different things are.
22 Jump
Yeah,
Street.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Wait, it
God.
started out. You saw 21 Jump
Right,
Street,
and
and
then-
then you saw 22 Jump
Yeah.
Street,
Yeah.
right? When they're like, why are these kids two-strapping it?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
with the
why are the
backpack.
hippie? Why are the jocks not cool anymore? Like
Yeah.
that's happened in today's society. I feel like when you talk about we talk about physical fitness and things like that, that's less important and less culturally popular in school anymore as the basketball players and the football players. More so, a well-spoken individual that's doing the debate team has a different level of popularity in today's society.
Meanwhile, that's what we celebrate by who can give an effective message. So we're going to follow them on social media.
Right.
So it's interesting that we don't popularize that in a youthful state. Okay, so we're going to call that an undeveloped state.
Right.
And then as we hopefully are developing and maturing as an individual, we start to recognize the power and the validity of words and being a great communicator. Because what is the number, 1 and 2 reasons for divorce? Money and lack of communication.
Sure.
Yeah. So while we talked about the respect that comes from having a physically in shape body, well, what does that matter if your brain's trash?
Right.
They both matter. So we just need to
Absolutely.
start understanding that these are parallels. Yeah.
Well, and it goes the same way you talk about a physical body and that being respected. Like somebody having an educated conversation, regardless of their side of the argument, is
Yeah.
respectable as well.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have any point in view that you want on any given topic, but it's when it becomes like a third grade level argument, which seems to happen more and more often because it's
That's when you see profanities thrown into a conversation because your vocab stinks.
right, and you ran out of
And name
you
calling.
ran out of statistics or facts or conversations
Yeah.
to counter the other battle. So then it becomes quickly the worst possible thing they could say about you that you can't show physical proof of. Like
Yeah.
I feel like a popular one is, I said it earlier, is like you're
Yes.
racist. Well, how do I prove that? Let me get my ID card out. That's on the back. It says, no, this guy's not racist. He has black friends or he has Hispanic friends.
Yeah.
Like there isn't
Let
such
me
a
lawyer
thing,
for
right?
myself. Yeah.
Or whatever or you don't believe in immigration, so you're a bad person because you don't want illegal immigrants. That means you're racist or you're this. And it's like these arguments become quickly to name call, and then the conversation stops.
Well, we've seen it accepted by leaders.
Yes.
So we've seen, because once upon a time, our presidential candidates would have a debate, and then those two same people would go out to eat together. You don't see that at all.
No.
For decades.
No.
And that's not how it once was. So it's from the top down, that has to start figuring out how to change that, because the divide between the political parties is what polarizes people.
I think we were talking a little bit about this last night as part of that same conversation. And I mean, I'm not trying to shorten the conversation too much, but it comes back to modern politics. And that's really what they cracked the code on. Like we were talking a little bit about of the Carter and Reagan era and then kind of moving into today. One of if you guys really want to be entertained or gently put to sleep pretty quickly, watch the Carter and Reagan debate, and they're joking
Yes.
the whole time, and
Sure.
it's at a level that doesn't really even make any sense. Like today, then when you go back and you look at the Hillary and Trump debate, or you look at the Trump and Biden and then Trump and Kamala debate, you can definitely see that. So when you look at why are we the way we are today, you can bring up the social media, you can bring up, iPad kids, you can bring up whatever. But I always go back and I look, all right, well, who benefits from this? And it's the politicians. There's more people voting now. There's more people talking politics. Like, nobody talked about politics in the early 80s and 90s. I said this last night too, that in the early 90s, all of a sudden Bill Clinton goes on the Arsenio Hall show playing the saxophone, and it's like, oh wow, this is cool, man. This guy plays the sax. That like got it into the zeitgeist out there, got people talking more about it. Now it's, in order to motivate people to vote, you have to, what's a good word for it? You have to, I don't want to say militarize them, but you have to agitate people enough to give them a cause to where they feel they're going to go out, that they have to vote. And the unfortunate part about that is then now you've got these tribes out there. And then when you have these tribes, political tribes, that is, then now we no longer have sensible debate. We just have childish debate that gets to the point of, well, you're a racist, or, well, you have this privileged, or, you don't know because you were raised over there. Like, a good one is I hear a lot of people that try and tell me what it's like in China. Well, in China, they do this, they do that. And I said, that's really interesting. When was the last time you were in China?
Right.
I'm somebody who's been to China. So so I love hearing about a place from somebody who's never been to that place, but the television has told them what they need to know about that place.
About China.
Yeah, about China.
But
Well,
you're just
China.
using that, I guess, across anything without having your own boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we experience that in agriculture. So having high rises tell us how to steward our land. Why don't you come out here and understand it before you start having an opinion and a judgment and a law?
Yeah.
Before you take it all the way there, so absolutely, we've just gotten tribe is so relevant, because all this, like, the picture I got was, when you hear tribe, you see war paint and axes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But that's what it's become. And I was trying to pull up a couple of things today, but when you talk about the political spectrum,
activism was the word I was looking for earlier.
There you go. Well, you're right. And that these political people that we voted in, not necessarily we specifically, but as a population, we vote these people in. And to hear the different rhetoric that they spew, because they disagreed with one, two, or all of another person's aspect. But for instance, the big thing, I was trying to find the Iliad, or whatever her name was, Ihan Omar's last meeting, or last interview.
If you can't pronounce her name, it's because you're a racist, by the way.
Right. But Omar's last conversation, where she goes, I'm not really sorry that he's gone. His history should be turned to dust, basically, the dust bins of history, because he spewed hate speech every day. And it's like, what?
No, he didn't.
Like, not at all.
He invited conversations.
Like, what are we talking about?
Yes.
But it's like, that is exactly. And then AOC's doing the same thing, right? And I was funny, because wasn't it last night? I was like, I'm surprised we haven't had AOC speak on this. But she did, and she sounded like a moron. And then we were talking about it last night too, is Obama. Like, I don't know if you saw his recent, but he was speaking to it as well, and he tried to turn it away from that and into about somebody else. And that, it's like, as political leaders, how come everybody cannot just agree, like, this is awful, this shouldn't have happened, and it shouldn't happen again to anybody else, regardless of what their opinions, beliefs. Like, we as a country need to unite and say, this is not okay, regardless of who the president is, regardless of who the person's side is of the fence is on. This whole two-party system has destroyed our country in the sense of Republican versus Democrat. Honestly, I think that the idea of a two-party system now has become such a joke. It should just be a one-party system where you could have beliefs that might fall on both sides of the fences, and then we could all vote for somebody that we feel like checks the most boxes for our beliefs. Yeah. Because
interesting thought, yeah.
Well, because, I mean, if you think about it, you can have a Democratic person who's running who might have a really great idea as far as for agricultural and for your business, right? Mm-hmm. However, 7 other things might totally disagree with your alignment on church and state and religious and things like that. So now you have to make that decision. Whereas if you're a very strong conservative, you might be like, I'm not going to even listen to the aspect they have on agriculture because they don't believe in anything else that they say. And you just eliminate that person as a candidate when it could have been very good for you, and vice versa. And this idea that now if you fall, whatever side you're running for, you have to essentially fall on the sword and align yourself with everything that party says, or your party, one, won't back you and neither will the voters. And there was somebody recently we just had, maybe it was because that Obama speech we were saying that, but he was literally, he couldn't say it was a bad thing because then the Democrats would then turn, like they would turn on him.
I was going to say the problem is the buts. And I don't mean the buts that we're sitting on. It's that he can't just deliver the appropriate message of this is a terrible thing and we're praying and blah, 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 blah. He has to then signal the base at that point. That's why I say the buts is that because when you make that statement to somebody and use the word the but, like, hey, Kayleigh, I really like you, but blah, 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 whatever. Like the but just negates everything that was said before. Like,
well, and if you have a chance, you should watch it because it's interesting. It's the one thing everybody always says about Obama is he was such a great spokesman and he was such a great statesman. He spoke eloquently and he didn't like have these long. There was times where he had like a 45-second pause because he didn't know what to say, because I think mentally he's arguing with himself, saying I'm a human died and that is wrong. However, I'm also considered the lead of the Democratic Party, and if I go on against anything and agree that it was terrible that Charlie Kirk was, I'm going to lose everything that I have, which is billions of dollars and everything else.
Yeah, and I guess like just that stance of I'm going to lose support, then where do you stand?
Right.
Stand boldly for something.
Yeah.
You know, people can hate Donald Trump, but they know where the man stands.
Agreed.
And I guess that's why there's been people that didn't even know the name Charlie Kirk until the guy took his last breath, is the respect for knowing where the man stood and was willing to die for it. We've lost a generation because we haven't been forced to put on boots and put on a backpack and take a rifle and go fight for our country. We've only been subject to what do I want to do today?
Right.
Like we've never really served something higher than ourselves for more than a football season.
Right.
And cheered for something that didn't have your name on the back for more than a basketball season. And it's like, it wouldn't have mattered. And it's like, okay, yeah, Kayleigh, it's easy for you to say that now because he's already gone. But I champion somebody who just is firm in what they believe in if I do or don't agree with it.
Right.
Like there's a respect for that.
Yeah, of course, because you know where they stand.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when somebody is convicted in the way that they stand, right, when they truly believe something, you can tell because they've done research around it, because they speak eloquently about it, because they are prepared to talk about it with anybody from any other different background, or you can also tell when somebody's just picking a side to pick a side because the argument ends in 3 words.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the, I wish I would brought up the video, but one of the videos that I saw recently of Charlie Kirk, which I think best described him, is somebody was trying to bait him on a debate regarding abortion. And they were trying to utilize the fact that, was he trying to make the argument that abortion should be wrong because of his religious background? And her argument was going to be, because then I was going to argue the fact that that's mixing church with, and that's unconstitutional, right? And he's like, no, my conviction and my belief is based off of the Bible and scripture. But also, I have all these facts and documents around like the human life and things like that. That is what my argument is based on. And it was just really, it was interesting to hear him break it down, because you saw the anger in this girl's eyes go to, and I think she even says it. She's like, I had a whole big thing that I was going to talk about how this is unconstitutional, but now that I know that that's not what you're saying, I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
And that's a great debate.
Was like, it was awesome to
not because
see
she
that.
conceded, but because she didn't start hurling insults.
Well, it was because she might have learned something.
Yeah.
And while she might have had a different stance on it, she didn't like go up there and just start yelling. She was like, oh, I guess I was wrong. Maybe my first aspect was wrong at what I thought of him. And you can watch 100 of those debates, and it's so interesting. And it's even I love it when like somebody definitely initial aspect is this is going to be a crazy one, and he's like, let's show him the respect, like let him have a conversation. And I thought he did a really good job of that. And that's sad because that is something with the youth. He built that, and it's funny, we were all looking at videos of him and like Candace Owens, like in a back of like probably a Chevy Cavalier, or a Chevy Impala or something, like leaving campuses and singing to songs like what was the song they were singing to? I don't know.
I forgot.
They were just all in the car, like they probably just left a small event and they're all singing and having a good time. And it's like it takes so much effort and time and discipline to build the following that he had. Yeah. Where he could go to essentially any college campus and have thousands of people there to like in line to have a conversation and debate with him. It's going to be hard to build that back up because now somebody that might be on the cusp of being able to do that is going to be a little bit more afraid.
Yep. That's the terrorizing part of all of that.
And then I think actually I think there's an emboldening. I see more of an emboldening happening and more of a there was somebody who had no college education who would just look like an average guy if you took his name off of him, just stood for something. Yeah. What do I stand for? I think it is making a lot of people just take a step back and pause. And I'm seeing it as what do I stand for? Yeah. What would I be willing to die for? Is there anything I would be willing to die for?
Right.
Like,
what am I afraid to say, or what am I not afraid to talk about, or who?
And in the Bible, it says you can't fear man and fear God. You can't please man and please God. Anything pleasing to man is unpleasing to God. So where do you stand?
Right.
I don't like every person I'm praying just starts asking themselves that question, like, where do you stand?
Yeah. Where are your convictions?
Yeah.
Where are your beliefs? How much of a belief do you truly have? Like, what are you willing to put up against it?
Yeah. Like there's no amount I could stand in the middle of how many other religions or non-religions, and I will still say Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. Sure. And I could do the same thing with like what I'm passionate about with fitness and with eating meat. And I could stand in the middle of a whole bunch of vegans hurling all their lettuce heads at me.
Right.
I'm still going to say I love meat. Yeah. Like, and everybody's drooling right now.
Yeah. Should have smoked a brisket today. A good day to smoke a brisket.
Really, like, it is beautiful outside.
I know. And now it's going to rain for 3 days. I'm like, oh, we're back to fall. But you know what? With that comes the excitement of fall. Yeah. Everybody can get their pumpkin spice latte chai. That's cheese. Right. Awesome. Well, if anybody wants to get information on your programs and stuff like that, where do they go?
They can go to thekayleighkeller.com.
Okay. I'll make sure that we put a link in the description too. It was really an honor to have you here. I appreciate you sitting down with us and sharing. Anything else that you'd like to share before
when are you going to start the podcast? Yeah. Let's get a commitment out of you.
Yeah. Let's hear some conviction.
Oh, no. This. Okay, good call. I should be able to by Christmas time.
Awesome.
Yes.
And are you planning on just having it just be you talking, or are you going to have guests, or what's
I'll
kind
have
of
guests.
The idea? You want to have guests on a weekly basis and stuff? Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yes, because I can talk to a doorknob all day long, but
you're sitting next to one, so
yeah.
But I know
I love talking. What can I say?
But I love conversation. I love having conversation. Yeah, I don't learn anything from what I already know.
Right.
Well, we're happy to help consult you as far as equipment and practices and everything. So
fantastic.
We're
not my realm of anything. I walked in, I was like, look at those. I don't even know what those are called, but look at them.
Yeah, right. Like, well, it took hours and hours. Like, so you talk about putting it off. I want to do this. Well, we wanted to do this, a group of us, for like 6 or 7 months.
Yes.
And it took us that long to finally do our first one. And once we did the first one, I was like, I'm so fucking hooked. I want to do this every week.
But we're not allowed to say what these things are, because then Will's wife's going to know what we spent on all this stuff.
Rip us a new one.
She stopped asking questions. I feel like I've committed myself to this hobby enough where I could justify the spend on it.
That's
you know
true.
What I mean?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's when I am one of those people that, like, when I'm into something, I'm like, I'm going all in.
Yeah. Well, same. Like if I said yes,
Yeah.
get out of the way.
Yeah, I guess
Get
it's gonna
on board
happen.
or get out of the way.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with that, thank you so much, Kayleigh Keller, joining us. Yeah, make sure you check out the marketplace down there. What's the overall name of that building? It's
The Farmers Exchange.
it is still the
Yeah,
Farmers
it's
Exchange.
the Farmers Exchange. Yep. And we're actually going to have, because COVID happened, we never got a ribbon cutting.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so Keller Market's going to have a 5-year anniversary party with the city. They're going to come by and give us so we can't get a ribbon cutting because they want to stick to how we do things and respectfully so. So I met with the city 2 weeks ago, and that'll happen the Friday before Candlelight Walk.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what, October or November?
No, that's in November.
November.
Yeah, the week before Thanksgiving is Candlelight Walk. So we'll do the Friday. You know what, Kayleigh? You have a handy dandy cell phone here with a calendar
With that
app in
calendar.
it.
There's some things that devices are handy for.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is November 14th. So we'll have a 5-year anniversary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Smash burgers all around. What?
Smash burgers. Hey, you guys in the parking lot, you want to eat some burgers and test them out?
Dude, that was the best.
Yeah.
That was the first time we heard about Rock the Dock. And then
Yeah.
it was like every week you guys were doing something there for a while.
Yeah. So we did it just one time a month this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, every time that you get to have people out there, have some music, that's like a cool spot to just hang out. It
Yeah.
just, hopefully we could expand that somewhere so there's more space.
Yeah.
We need more patios in Medina.
Agreed.
That's one thing. Like when something expands to the south side of Medina and they put a restaurant over here, I was like, just have a big patio. Like I
Yeah.
want one of those areas where like kids could be like throwing cornhole and like parents are all sitting around hanging out. Like,
Ohioans are just pining to get outside.
dude, every chance that
One
we get.
shred of light, it's like poof, outside in
gotta
March.
go,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Welcome to the night zone. Hear the warriors speak. Life's the battlefield and we ain't feeling weak. From love to the game and the power we seek. Our voice is strong, breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Politics and prayers ain't no subject we shun. Keep it real, keep it raw till the battle's won. Fitness tips to faith, every topic under the sun. With honor and valor, every man's battle begun. Warriors with word swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all